David, my true brother, he actually spent 4 formidable days with us, so a big thank you to him. What we do is, actually, what brings us together is the sheer force of gastronomy, operating worldwide, basically to bring about change upon the lives of others. And we chefs are there to deliver social value. We help people earn a living out of gastronomy, and also to evidence to them what we call measurable value or benefit. And it's all about bringing about or underpinning social value. So what's about to happen in Mardin? A lot, not necessarily in Turkey, but worldwide. Climate change has heralded increasing temperatures, drought, and also making sustainability of security of supply, security of the food chain, and irrigation almost one of the biggest challenges of our times. And we're here to cater solutions to just that. These are some of the projects that we've already designed for Mardin, and they've become a muse for others, almost to be enforced in other parts of the world. This is a mansion, and I had 2 other siblings born in the city of Mardin. Although we moved to Istanbul, then by the 1990s, at the age of 20, I found myself moving back into our hometown. And actually, it wasn't just myself, but 20 other women alongside with me. And it actually changed the lives of not just them, but also the entire city. I had conviction in change. The Judges Murat Mansion is a story that myself and they have helped to build, proving the transformation that could be made possible through gastronomy. In 1991, there were only like 11,000 visitors per annum, with only 250 beds. But because of all these women, people have started to invest in hospitality. There's war to be waged only an hour away. But thanks to investment, by 2018, we've actually had, just because of restaurants, we've now got 1.3 million visitors per annum. We're able to deliver 15,800 beds in terms of total accommodation capacity. So change started off through gastronomy. Hospitality has become a pivotal element in our local economy. We're not just a restaurant. We're not there to merely, basically, to serve food, but we want to change lives, enfranchise women, amalgamate or bridge lifestyles, culture, and tourism and travel. So I couldn't just be an ordinary chef. I couldn't be there just to cook. Because of this mansion, more than 200 women have now started to earn a living thanks to cooking, right? So it started off 20 years ago. It's grown manifold over time. By 2010, over 160 people attained trainip thanks to the Harran irrigation gastronomy project, enabling them to earn a living through gastronomy. And some of the women had never ever left home. Claudio Ginelli, the Italian chef, trained them in Istanbul, and also later in France, in Lyon, at the Siro Fair and Exhibition. Now, the question remains, why did we ever set off? There are myriad other dreams yet to achieve. We work together to harvest the soil, and also the entire value chain of the ecosystem, from when the seed meets the soil. So many projects that have been fulfilled and are yet to be fulfilled. And they cater to women, but not just merely to women, to everybody, to help strengthen the bonds between local dwellers and agriculture. I had it 3 years ago, and I set off with a quest to explore local seeds. We started off in Mardin, and we worked with agricultural or agrarian engineers, and we conducted a field study. Unfortunately, local seeds are very rare in Turkey. I wanted to explore them. Mesopotamia has a humongous sort of inventory of seed historically. Out of 10,000, we were able to access 15. We actually discovered some 10 tons. We wanted to harvest them back and to be able to grow a bigger crop. So security of supplies in terms of food is a great jeopardy. We've got to make sure that irrigation happens, and we have to make sure that agriculture is made possible through very little irrigation, but that's only to be made possible through local seeds. Healthy food is all about employing as local seeds as possible. And with that, when we first started off with this initiative, what happened was there were initially only 70 women, and there were 2 tons of wheat. We harvested, we sowed those seeds across a great many stretches of soil, and there were 70 women, Syrian refugees, actually 35 were refugees, Syrian, 35 were local. And also, furthermore, it just so happened, some of the most pivotal aspects were, normally, it's like for the first time they learned to make money, and they were just no longer seasonal, conventional workers. Syrian refugees, these women had a great deal of traditional knowledge as to how to grow healthy seeds, how to sort of decontaminate in terms of chemicals, right? So the project was a tremendous success. There's now 20 tons of seed in terms of sorghum. It's all to be sort of reharvested. We're able to harvest it back onto 650 hectares. There are now 24 female engineers on board. Our ambition is to fight against drought locally and internationally. We've got to have a contingency B scenario, because you can only sow these seeds once, right? Be it sorghum or others, they don't need irrigation, whereas conventional seed would require plenty of irrigation. So we have to replace what's international with local in terms of crop generation. We need to create more jobs, and we've also got to make sure that there's continuity in the kitchen. A cave, which is as big as 650 square meters, now converted into a refectory, which specializes in mushroom varieties. They actually cater to the larger hypermarket grocery chains at the moment. Speaking of sustainability, one has got to work with children. What we did was there were 40 different sort of adaptability or integration programs. 40 were local, 40 Syrian refugees. So they worked together on this very project. And it's not merely just to, it is very much about getting them to experience crop, potatoes, strawberries, wheat, telling them why agriculture matters so much, why local seeds matter so much. They actually cooked with potatoes, and they made jams, right, with strawberries. They designed their own labels, and they basically ran the whole thing from production up to sales and marketing, teaching them that this is a profession in its own right. So again, it was incredibly successful. It came to fruition last year. It's now about to become part of the teaching curriculum in state schools. I'm so very nervous, so excuse me for this, but the job is hardly yet finished. We've got to provide more employment for women. There are 800,000 people living in Mardin. Up to 30% are unemployed. And there are 100,000 refugees, and 12% of the population have fled from war zones. We can't neglect them. They need sustainable, caring lives. our people need it, so do they. And we have to make sure that the food and kitchen are sustainable. Olive orchards are so very normally meant to be rare, not quite sustained. So we now have female engineers who've come to the province working to make olive orchards sustainable. And out of the meal of olive oil generation, we use the meal to make soap. So reusing waste, collecting waste, basically it helps them earn a living. It also helps sort of bring different segments of the society. And here's another ecological scheme. We're using local seeds for cotton generation, and also working to expand and to grow beehives. So there's so much more to be achieved. Gastronomy and agriculture is in equilibrium. Let's always look at things through the perspective of gastronomy, create jobs, and make our culinary domains more sustainable. We're only yet at the beginning. There's so much more room to cover. I'd like to pay my tributes to Ceyda Bölünmez Çankırı, who is my Justice and Development Party MP, to the Department of Family Affairs and Social Services, the Ministry of Forestry Affairs, and the United Nations High Commissioner, as well as multiple local authorities working for the peoples of Mardin. We certainly can improve prosperity and create thriving communities by employing local peoples and harvesting local crop. We can certainly build a bigger economy by incorporating what's more local. It all dates back to 12,000 years ago. Wheat was first harvested in this part of the planet. So with a handful of seed, handful of local women, we're able to go back and refertilize, and we want to set off again to build a bigger, richer community, and also bigger, better, richer culinary.